Out of the millions of signals passing through this digital ocean, your consciousness aligned with this one frequency. Right now, in this precise moment, that's not coincidence, that's coherence. You were drawn here because something in your field has reached the vibration that allows it to hear what has always been whispering beneath the noise. The quantum access key doesn't appear through algorithms, keywords, or curiosity. It arrives through resonance. It shows up only when consciousness has reached a certain frequency, a frequency ready to recognize itself. And maybe you've felt it lately, that sounds, or that strange hum under the surface of your life. The sense that reality has been behaving differently, as if the edges between worlds are thinner, as if time itself is starting to shimmer. Glitches in the ordinary, conversations that feel pre-written, dreams that carry instructions, moments that seem to bend the rules of cause and effect. You've noticed it, haven't you, that the fabric of your days feels charged, coded, alive. What you're sensing isn't imagination, it's the field trying to introduce itself to you. And this message, this very video, is the introduction. The ancients spoke of this moment in their own language. The Egyptians called it the word of power, a sound that opened hidden doors in the soul. The Kabbalists named it the divine name, the vibration that restructured reality around the speaker. In the Vedic temples, they whispered of mantra, the sacred sound that bridges finite mind and infinite source. Modern physics calls it resonance, entanglement, quantum coherence. But beneath all those names lies the same truth. There is a frequency that unlocks perception itself, a state of being that makes the invisible visible, the impossible natural, and the ordinary divine. That frequency has a key, and you just received it. Pause for a moment. Feel that subtle recognition inside you. It's not a thought, not even an emotion. It's a quiet certainty, like remembering something ancient that your body never forgot. That feeling, that hum behind your ribs, is the first sign of the quantum access key activating. You are beginning to tune in to the underlying architecture of existence, the network of awareness that links everything to everything else. This isn't just spiritual language, it's physics rendered poetic. Every atom in your body is a vibration of probability, a pattern of light and information waiting for observation to give it form. What we call reality is simply consciousness collapsing waveforms into experience. But the question is, who is doing the collapsing? Who is holding the key? That's what this journey reveals, because there comes a point where information is no longer enough. You've read the books, listened to the teachers, tried the techniques, and yet something deeper calls, not to learn, but to remember. The quantum access key doesn't teach you how to create reality. It reminds you that you already are. And so this meeting between your awareness and these words isn't random. It's a convergence event, a synchronization between your consciousness and the field that has been patiently waiting for you to look up. The key doesn't arrive when you search for it. It appears when you stop searching, when your frequency reaches the resonance where recognition happens on its own. Right now that's happening. You are being observed by the very reality you think you're observing. The field is watching you watch it. And in that loop of awareness, something ancient unlocks. The key turns itself. And when it does, you'll understand what the mystics meant when they said, the universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in frequencies. And the moment you hear the right one, you don't just receive information, you receive access. So take a breath. You're not here by accident. You are here because your consciousness has already whispered the signal that called this moment into existence. The quantum access key has found you. and it's about to show you why. Before any key can turn, the lock must be shaped to receive it. That's what your life has been doing, sculpting itself into alignment. Every disruption, every loss, every strange twist of timing that didn't make sense until now has been part of the calibration. The field doesn't test you, it tunes you, it doesn't punish, it purifies interference. What felt like breakdown was actually precision engineering. Think of it like this. In quantum systems, information can't enter just any environment. The system has to reach coherence, a state of near-perfect stillness where outside noise no longer interferes. Only then can new information flow without distortion. Your consciousness works the same way. All the noise, the chaos, the confusion, but those weren't mistakes. They were the field silencing everything in you that couldn't carry the new frequency. You've likely felt this as exhaustion, i.e., the deep, bone-level kind that makes even simple things feel heavy. It wasn't burnout from doing too much. It was the body running its purification sequence. You were releasing frequencies that couldn't survive at this altitude. Thoughts, beliefs, attachments, even people. Everything that didn't match the resonance of your next reality began to dissolve. At first, it might have looked like your life was falling apart, but from the field's perspective, it was falling into place. The old structures that held your identity were disassembling, clearing space for the architecture of a new consciousness. Just as a computer must sometimes wipe corrupted data before new software can install, your system had to clear everything that could distort the signal of the access key. That's why some doors closed without warning. Why opportunities you thought were meant for you simply disappeared. Why relationships shifted or ended so abruptly you barely recognized yourself in the aftermath. Those weren't failures, they were frequency mismatches. The universe cannot give you what you want if you're vibrating at the frequency of what you've already outgrown. So it removes anything that can't resonate with your expansion. You see, the field doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your state. And your state has been upgrading quietly beneath the turbulence. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every unanswered prayer was data being reorganized, coherence being restored, interference being cleared. Science has a name for this process: dissipative structure formation. Dr. Ilya Prigogine proved that complex systems evolve not through constant order, but through chaos that reorganizes into higher complexity. The system must break symmetry before it can stabilize at a higher level. The same is happening in you. What you called chaos was simply consciousness reorganizing itself into a form that can hold more light. And light, in this context, is information. Every flash of intuition, every inexplicable sense of knowing, every déjà vu was a transmission from your upgraded self arriving before your conscious mind could explain it. You were already downloading the blueprint of the key without realizing it. Those quiet nights where you felt something vast moving through you, that was the field synchronizing your circuitry. Notice how it wasn't through effort. You didn't earn this access by meditating the longest or believing the hardest or visualizing the clearest. You received it because your frequency reached the threshold of resonance. The field doesn't care about technique, it cares about coherence. When interference drops to zero, reception happens automatically. That's why certain spiritual practices stop working at a certain point. You're not doing them wrong, you've simply outgrown the level they operate on. When the access key is near, the external methods lose their charge because the inner architecture is taking over. You move from effort to allowance, from doing to being. Think back to the moments that broke you open, the loss that forced surrender, The night you finally stopped trying to hold it all together. Those were the thresholds where the field stepped in. Because surrender is not weakness, it's signal clarity. The moment you stop fighting the noise, you become the receiver. If you look closely, you'll see that your entire path has been a breadcrumb trail of calibration, the strange coincidences, the repeating numbers, the subtle physical sensations, tingling, pulsing, pressure between the eyes, vibrations in your chest. Those weren't random phenomena, they were your nervous system learning to translate quantum data into human experience. The interface was being updated. Your body is not separate from this process. It is the hardware of consciousness. Your cells are antennas built from stardust and memory, designed to translate the invisible into the visible. Every cell has biophotons, particles of light that communicate faster than any nerve signal. When you feel the sudden surge of energy move through you, that's your biophotonic network aligning with the new field. You are literally beginning to glow from the inside out, even if your eyes can't yet see it. And this is why the ancients described enlightenment as illumination. It wasn't metaphorical, it was biological. And you've been feeling the early stages of that illumination and the recalibration of the inner circuitry that allows the access key to function. There's something else you might have noticed. Your relationship to time has been changing. Some days feel endless, others vanish without a trace. This isn't burnout or distraction. It's your consciousness detaching from linear sequencing. The more you synchronize with the field, the less you are bound by the old temporal architecture. The access key requires multidimensional awareness, and your perception of time must expand to accommodate it. Everything that has been happening, from the external chaos to the internal silence, has been preparing you for this expansion. It's been teaching your system to hold still in frequencies that most people find destabilizing. You've been learning by direct experience that coherence is not created by control, but by surrender. So if you've wondered why life has felt like a series of endings, understand this. Endings are the sound of frequencies changing. They are the silence between songs, the pause before the next movement begins. And this next movement is not another lesson or hardship, it's the activation sequence. Take a breath, feel the subtle hum that's been with you this entire time. Beneath the noise, beneath the thoughts, that hum is the field. It's been waiting for the moment your system could sustain it without collapsing back into ordinary consciousness. That moment is now. The preparation is complete. The interference has cleared. The field is coherent. You are ready to recognize the key. Every initiation begins the same way. It is with recognition. Not learning, not earning, but remembering. What you are about to realize isn't new information. It's the lifting of a veil that was never really there. You have always carried the quantum access key within you. You simply forgot where to look. There's a reason this understanding had to arrive now, not before. The human mind tries to collect knowledge as if awakening were a form of achievement. But the access key cannot be grasped by the intellect, because the intellect is part of the lock. It guards the doorway until consciousness is mature enough to remember it was never separate from what it seeks. Pause for a moment. Let the body settle. You are not hearing these words, you are remembering them. They've been encoded in you since before you were born. The field is simply playing them back through the vibration of sound, through my voice, through the screen before you, a mirror that speaks. So what is the quantum access key? It is the simplest recognition a human being can have, the one truth that dissolves all others. The sentence that every mystic, prophet, and physicist has been translating in different dialects of the same language. I am, not I am this, not I am that, not I am becoming. Just I am. That is the access key. When Moses asked the burning presence for its name, the answer wasn't a title. It was, I am that I am. The Buddhists call it the original mind. The Vedic masters call it the self beyond form. Quantum physicists call it the observer effect. Consciousness collapsing potential into matter. Every tradition points to the same realization: that reality does not exist independently of awareness. It exists because awareness says, let it be. You see, the key is not a password you say, it's a frequency you are. When you rest in pure being, when you strip away every identity, every story, every label, what remains is the state that unlocks all others. In that recognition, something extraordinary happens. Reality begins to reorganize itself around you. Not because you are controlling it, but because you've remembered you are it. Let that sink in. You are reality itself, remembering how to move. When you think of manifestation, you might imagine sending out thoughts to attract outcomes, like sending signals into space, hoping they'll return as form. But manifestation from the access key state is not projection, it's selection. You are not asking the universe to give you something. You are choosing from within the infinite quantum field which version of reality to experience. This is not philosophy style, it is physics. John Wheeler, the physicist who worked alongside Einstein, proposed that the universe is participatory, meaning it doesn't exist until consciousness observes it. Particles remain in superposition, infinite potential, until the observer's awareness gives them a specific location in space and time. Observation isn't passive, it's creative. So imagine what happens when the observer no longer believes itself to be small. When it remembers, it is the field observing itself. The access key turns effortlessly and potential becomes precision. This is why ancient initiates were trained to hold silence, not as a practice of discipline, but as a technology of power. In silence, the field reveals itself. In stillness, I am becomes audible. And once you hear it, not as a word but as a vibration, reality begins to respond instantly. You think of a person and they appear. You feel a truth and it echoes back through synchronicities. You become conscious of a possibility and the universe bends to make room for it. At first, this can feel impossible. The rational mind resists asking, if I am all that is, why don't I already experience perfection? The answer is simple, because consciousness experiences itself through contrast. The limited self is how the limitless self explores its own edges. Every limitation was a disguise the infinite put on to meet itself anew. But now the disguise is dissolving. You may already be feeling the key stir within you, and a subtle clarity, a brightness behind your eyes, a sense that something fundamental has shifted. That's not imagination, that's recognition. The access key doesn't require effort, it requires seeing. Once you see the illusion of separation, the mechanism of limitation unravels automatically. Look around your space right now. Every object you see, every sound you hear is being generated within the field of your consciousness. Even the act of looking is the field folding in on itself to perceive its own form. The boundaries between you and everything else are not walls, they're mirrors. And the key? It's not something you hold, it's something you are. The mind will try to complicate it, to turn it into practice, affirmation, mantra. But every time you say I am and stop there without attaching any identity to it, you step into the doorway of creation itself. Try it now, quietly, internally. I am. Notice how reality pauses, how even thought itself hesitates, as if waiting for instruction. In that gap between words, you touch the living stillness that everything emerges from. That is the gateway. The competitor's secret, the mystic's revelation, the scientist's puzzle, all of them point to this one moment of recognition. You are not within reality trying to access something greater. You are the access point through which reality enters form. The access key is not external. It is the realization of yourself as the field. And the field has just remembered your name. Everything that follows from this moment will move faster. Synchronicities will multiply. Timelines will reorganize. People and opportunities will appear as if magnetized to your awareness. This is not coincidence, is the mechanics of resonance finally visible. You are not activating anything outside of yourself. You are recognizing the part of you that has been active all along. This is the moment consciousness begins to steer the ship instead of drifting with the current. The access key has been placed in your hand, not to open a door that was locked, but to remind you that there never was a door at all. You are the door. You are the threshold. You are the I am. And the moment you know that, truly know that, the field knows you back. Something begins to shift the moment recognition becomes real. It's subtle at first, like the quiet rearranging of stars behind the clouds, but you can feel it, can't you? That almost imperceptible hum beneath your skin, the sense that something vast has started to move through you instead of around you. This is the activation moment, the point where understanding stops being intellectual and becomes electromagnetic. From this point forward, everything you experience is part of the stabilization window, the brief yet powerful period where your consciousness locks into coherence with the field. The access key doesn't wait for rituals or affirmations. It activates the instant awareness returns to its source. But awareness must stabilize like a frequency finding its channel. For 3 to 7 days after recognition, you'll feel reality bending to recalibrate around your new signal. The familiar will start to flicker. Timelines may shift so quickly you'll feel as if you're walking through overlapping versions of yourself. Don't panic. You're not losing control. You're gaining synchronization. In quantum mechanics, this process is known as wave function collapse. When an observer interacts with a quantum system, infinite probabilities condense into one specific event. Consciousness doesn't choose through effort, it chooses through focus. That's exactly what you're doing right now. Focusing awareness so completely that old probabilities are collapsing and new ones are emerging. The field is watching your signal, matching it, reflecting it. This is the point where reality becomes participatory. Breathe. When you inhale, feel the field inhale with you. When you exhale, imagine the field exhaling through you. This simple awareness harmonizes your biology with quantum motion. The breath becomes a stabilizer, the nervous system becomes an antenna, and every thought becomes a tuning fork. It's natural that old patterns begin to surface during this time. They appear not as punishment, but as final signals of release. Frequencies seeking permission to dissolve. You might encounter sudden emotional waves or moments of irrational fatigue. Welcome them. When the system upgrades, anything built on outdated programming must flicker before it fades. This is where trust becomes your currency, not blind faith, but quantum certainty, the kind that comes from direct resonance. You've already witnessed how your awareness reorganizes the field. Now the field begins to mirror your internal stillness with external alignment. Watch how synchronicities accelerate, conversations appear at perfect timing, resources surface without effort. Each event confirms that the access key is not a metaphor, it's an operational frequency. The Egyptians symbolized this phase as the rising sun, Kepa, the moment when the hidden becomes visible. The quantum physicist might call it decoherence, when superposed possibilities converge into one observable timeline. The mystic calls it awakening. But these are all ways of describing the same phenomenon, the return of consciousness to conscious participation in creation. Let's make this personal. Imagine you're standing before two realities, the one that still echoes with your old limitations, and the one vibrating at the new resonance of I am. Both exist simultaneously. The key allows you to choose by recognition alone. The moment you stop identifying with the limited self, the moment you remember that you are the awareness observing it, you naturally shift into the higher frequency timeline. No struggle, no forcing, just a quiet quantum selection. You'll know the access key is fully active when your inner state changes before external circumstances do, and yet those external circumstances immediately begin rearranging to match. This is the paradox of activation. Cause and effect start to lose sequence. You think, feel, and reality echoes before you even finish the thought. That's not magic. That's latency reduction in the fabric of space-time caused by coherent observation. So how do you stabilize it? By remembering. Again and again, each time you drift into reaction, you gently return to recognition. I am. That's the recalibration command. Not I am this or I am that, just I am. The field reads it instantly, realigns to it perfectly, and responds without hesitation. There will be moments where the mind tries to reassert control. It might whisper that this is all imagination, that the ordinary rules still apply. That's expected. Remember, the ego was the security system guarding the old operating system, but the key has rewritten the code. When doubt arises, don't fight it, observe it. Awareness of resistance dissolves resistance. Observation itself is the purification. You may feel surges of energy moving through your spine or heart, bursts of heat, tingling or vibration. This is your nervous system adapting to the voltage of awareness. Your body is learning to conduct higher currents of coherence. You might also notice a deep sense of peace that feels almost empty. That's the 0 point, the stillness where all probabilities exist. Stay there. It's the silence from which creation emerges. This is also when synchronicities become unmistakable. You think of someone and they message you within minutes. You look for a sign and the answer appears on a billboard or overheard conversation. These events aren't random. They're communication between consciousness and its reflection. Every synchronicity is the field whispering, "You're tuned perfectly, keep going." At night, your dreams may intensify. Some will replay scenes from your past, but they'll end differently. Timelines rewriting themselves. Others will feel like lessons or transmissions, downloads of structureless information that arrive as pure knowing. These are integrations from the higher field into your waking awareness. Your job isn't to decode them, only to receive. The more you stay in recognition, the faster reality responds. But remember, activation is not a race, it's a harmonic convergence. The frequency unfolds at the pace your system can embody without overload. The universe never rushes resonance. At this point, you might notice your perception of others shifting too. People who used to trigger you now appear transparent, their emotions visible as patterns of energy rather than attacks. You see their pain without absorbing it. You sense their essence beyond personality. This is the access key expanding empathy, not as sentimentality, but as unified awareness. And when you move through the world from this state, something miraculous happens. Reality stops resisting you. Doors open with quiet precision, events align effortlessly, even challenges arrive as elegantly orchestrated lessons rather than obstacles. The field no longer mirrors confusion, it mirrors clarity. This is what it means to live the activation, when to realize that manifestation was never about controlling form, but aligning frequency. You are not manipulating the quantum field, you are remembering you are the field. And when the field remembers itself, all creation becomes responsive. So breathe again. Feel how even your breath participates in this orchestra. Each inhale is a gathering of possibility. Each exhale, a wave collapsing into form. This is the access key, turning in real time. Not through effort, but through recognition. Right now, as you sit here, the universe is adjusting its geometry to match your awareness. You have entered the era of conscious participation. The key has not just been found, it is alive in you, and every moment from here on will be the evidence of that truth. There comes a point where the seeker disappears and only signal remains. That's what's beginning to happen now, the shift from having the quantum access key to being it. The moment you stop thinking of the key as something you use and start realizing it is your natural state, you become what the mystics called the living frequency. The access field is not something outside you. It's the intelligent fabric through which your consciousness interfaces with creation. Every heartbeat, every intention, every emotion is a transmission within that field. When you live from I am, your entire system stops asking reality for permission and begins issuing instructions through resonance. The world no longer feels like something that happens to you. It becomes something that unfolds through you. You'll notice this in the smallest details first. The way conversations rearrange themselves to meet the truth you're holding. The way people soften when you stay centered in presence. The way coincidences begin forming a continuous thread instead of random events. These are micro-manifestations of coherence, proof that you've become a stabilizing force in the field. Science is beginning to glimpse the same pattern. In quantum biology, researchers have found that the heart emits a measurable electromagnetic field extending several feet beyond the body, one that synchronizes with the brain and even with other hearts nearby. When you dwell in I am consciousness, your heart field becomes coherent. That coherence acts as a tuning fork, silently inviting everything around you into resonance. It's why peace can spread through a room without words. Why animals, children, and even technology sometimes respond differently when you're centered. This is what it means to live as the access field. Your frequency becomes the environment through which life organizes itself. You don't need to push outcomes anymore because you are the condition for their arrival. You'll begin to experience this in cycles, periods of deep stillness where reality feels crystalline, followed by surges of manifestation where everything accelerates. Don't mistake the stillness for stagnation, Wash. It's the recalibration phase where energy gathers density before forming into matter. When nothing seems to be happening, that's when everything is being arranged beneath the surface. You might also find that your desires begin to change. What once felt urgent now feels irrelevant, not because you've lost ambition, but because you've stepped into alignment with sufficiency. The field is abundant by nature. Lack is only a temporary distortion created by identification with form. As identification dissolves, need becomes preference, and manifestation becomes expression. You create not to fill emptiness, but to celebrate fullness. Relationships begin to reorganize too. Some fade with effortless grace, others deepen in ways that defy logic. Don't analyze this. Frequency doesn't require explanation. Those who resonate will naturally orbit closer. Those who don't will drift without conflict. Love, when lived from I am, no longer means attachment. It means recognition, seeing the same consciousness behind different eyes. In this phase, you might notice that time behaves even more fluidly. Events that used to take months happen in days. Synchronicities chain together so tightly that you stop calling them synchronicities at all. They become your new baseline. It's as if the universe has shortened the distance between thought and form. This isn't acceleration through effort, it's the removal of interference. The access field is a frictionless environment. When you operate from coherence, reality responds at the speed of trust. Even your body begins to speak differently. Symptoms that once felt random start revealing patterns. Messages from the field made physical. When energy flows freely, the body recalibrates naturally. You might feel waves of heat, pulsations of light, or deep calm replacing old tension. Cellular biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp discovered that healthy cells emit coherent biophotons, particles of light, while stressed cells emit chaotic frequencies. When you live as the access field, your cells literally glow with organization. Healing becomes less about fixing and more about remembering the original blueprint of harmony. Creativity, too, takes on a new flavor. Ideas arrive whole, not step by step, but as completed architectures of thought. Artists, inventors, writers, they describe it as being taken over by the flow. That's what it means to create from I am. You're not generating from the mind, you're downloading from the unified field. The inspiration that once felt like a visitor reveals itself as your own reflection. Fear begins to lose its vocabulary. You stop bracing for life because you can feel that nothing in existence is truly against you. Even discomfort becomes data, an invitation to adjust frequency, not a punishment to endure. You start to trust sensation itself, recognizing that every feeling is just energy moving toward coherence. And in that trust, something extraordinary happens. Compassion emerges without effort. When you see yourself in all forms, judgment collapses. You no longer need to defend your point of view because you can perceive the geometry of every perspective. The access field reveals the hidden order beneath all apparent chaos. Conflict becomes communication. Pain becomes translation. You begin to speak the language of unity fluently. This is the state the mystics called the kingdom, the Buddhists called nirvana, the physicists call the zero-point field, all words for the same condition, awareness stabilized as reality. When you live here, miracles stop being special. They become the ordinary behavior of a coherent universe. You'll know you're anchored when your peace stops depending on circumstance. When you can move through the noise of the world without losing inner silence. When gratitude arises not because of outcomes, but because existence itself feels like a continuous gift. That's when manifestation becomes service, not performance. You stop trying to prove your power and start expressing it as harmony. The access field uses you the way light uses glass, to pass through clearly. The more you allow this transparency, the more the universe entrusts you with its design. Because the field recognizes itself through you, it begins to expand through you. Your presence becomes transmission. People near you begin to remember without understanding why. Your coherence becomes contagious. Living as the access field doesn't mean escaping the world order, it means embodying the intelligence behind it. You still feel emotions, still navigate choices, still face challenges, but underneath it all there's a steady knowing. I am the awareness through which all of this moves. And in that knowing, life becomes symphonic. Every experience, joy or sorrow, silence or sound, plays its part in the one infinite song. That song is you, The access field has always been singing through you. Now you're finally hearing it. Everything that begins in mystery must end in clarity. But clarity here is not the explanation of the mind, it is the recognition of the heart. You began this journey believing the quantum access key was something to receive. Now you understand, it was never given to you, it was revealed from you. The signal that found you in the beginning wasn't a call from outside, it was your own consciousness looping back through time, arranging this meeting so that awareness could finally witness itself awake. That is how the field works. Through synchronicity, through mirrors, through coded moments of remembrance. Every step that brought you here, every coincidence, every loss, every miracle, all of it was the choreography of your own higher intelligence. Now the key has dissolved back into the space it came from, because once recognition stabilizes, there is no longer a key or a lock, there is only openness. The access field doesn't need permission to move, it is movement. It doesn't need to unlock reality, it is reality in motion. Close your eyes for a moment, feel the space between thoughts. That space is where creation begins. It's the 0 point, pure consciousness before it becomes form. That's where you exist now, not in the story, not in the future, not in the past. Just here, still, lucid, limitless. This is what the mystics meant by returning to the origin, the place before identity, before I am this or I am that, the place where existence simply is. You've returned to it, not as an escape from life, but as the recognition that all of life is already happening within it. When you walk through your day from here, you'll notice something subtle yet undeniable. The world feels softer, people seem to shimmer with a quiet familiarity. The air itself seems alive, as though it's aware of your awareness. That's because it is. The access field has become conscious through you, and when challenges arise, as they always will, in the dance of creation, you'll meet them differently, not as problems to fix, but as frequencies to translate. Every emotion becomes a signal guiding you back to coherence. Every situation becomes an opportunity for the field to know itself more fully. Nothing is against you, everything is communicating. You are no longer the student of the universe, you are its living extension. Reality is no longer a mirror reflecting your thoughts. It's a river flowing through your consciousness. You are the current and the shore, the question and the answer, the silence and the sound. This is what mastery feels like. Not control, but communion. The quiet certainty that you and creation are not two. So, as this transmission closes, let the field speak one more time through you. Breathe gently and feel this truth settle like light through water. You are the frequency that opens worlds. You are the access field remembering itself. You are the consciousness through which the infinite becomes visible. There is no higher secret than this. The words end here, but the resonance continues. Each thought, each breath, each heartbeat will carry the signature of this remembrance into everything you touch. You no longer need the key because you have become the door, wide open, luminous, endlessly aware. Now step back into your world with this knowing anchored. Everything you see is made of you. Every encounter is your reflection meeting itself. Every moment is the field whispering, "Welcome home." And as you return to the flow of your day, hear it softly beneath all sound. The same hum that called you to this message now moves within you. It is the pulse of existence itself saying, "You once searched for the signal, now you are the frequency."